Hey, it's Mike again, and I hear you've loaded up your brand new bag with your limited edition Icon Predator stick. You have your Tome Chuck, your glove, your $100 jersey, your $100 warm-up jacket. You're ready for the US Open. Yeah, just a couple YouTube videos away from crushing it. So in this video, we're going to discuss your stroke, we're going to discuss a grip, and then we're going to discuss some practice routines. How to practice. So first, what we'll talk about is stroke. We're going to discuss a pendulum stroke utilizing the set, pause, finish. So what that means is your arm really should be a pendulum, and it should swing just back and forward, not coming out, not going to the side. That's not how a pendulum works. And this upper arm should be pretty level, at least remain non-moving, right? We're just going to be bending that elbow. We're not even going to be making a bend at the wrist. We'll discuss that when we get to the grip. So what we want to do is drop. We get in, when we make our practice stroke, or we line up our cue to the cue, this arm should be straight up and down. That way, when we pull back and when we strike through, it's striking the ball at the lowest point, the height of its swing, because as soon as it starts to come back up, it starts to lose momentum. So the height of its momentum is right at the bottom. Our backstroke and then follow through of the actual stroke should have pauses. That's when I said set, pause, finish. We're going to set to concrete things in our mind, right? We're going to pull back. There's going to be a pause there. That's an important piece of information. It's kind of like a car going in reverse and then forward. We can't do both at the same time. Neither can your arm. Your muscles work independently of each other, but they don't work, and they can't work together in that respect. You can't pull back and push forward at the same time. Your tricep is pulling back, and your bicep is pushing forward. There are two muscles on either side of the arm that don't work together. When you try to work it together, that's when you get some movement. And as a machine, we want little to no movement, at least no variance, so we can remain consistent. So that's why we have a back pause and why that's important. And then we have a forward pause. So once we strike that ball, we stay down. Why do we do that? So that we ensure we're not jumping up out of our shots. And I've seen that, where people are so accustomed to standing up out of their shots that they actually are standing up as they're striking their ball. We also need to verify that we have delivered the ball to the location that we said, right? So when we strike and we say, hey, I'm going to hit along this line, I'm going to hit that part of the ball, I'm going to ensure that that's what's happened, that my stick isn't over here or up in the air. So that's why we pause at the end. So set, concrete things, pull back, pause, because that's what happens with a pendulum. It comes back, there's a slight pause, and then it comes forward. And then we're going to strike the ball, we're going to verify, and ensure that we've delivered to the right location. We're also going to ensure we're not popping up. So what this looks like from the side. Again, my arm is straight up and down. I'm paused at the forward. I'm going to pull back, I'm going to pause, I'm going to push through. That's what a good set, pause, pendulum swing looks like. So I hope that helps you out and at least allows you to look good on TV at the Open. What we'll talk about now is grips. How hard or how light should I hold the back end of the cue? This is a very important piece. Your back arm is the only thing driving everything. A good grip, a good stroke will correct a lot of other things. So what we need to do is ensure that we're going to grip the cue correctly. So the cue should come right into the web part between your thumb and first finger here. So we're going to grip this, we're going to lay that in there. Yeah. Then we're gonna wrap our hand around, but in a scale of hardness like 1 to 10, if you think about that, your grip should be pretty light, very light. It should be around 1. That cue is not gonna fly out of your hand, and if it does slide a little, that's okay. I don't think you're gonna launch it across the room. I often see people grip too hard, and again, that causes a muscle in your forearm to tighten up, and we want as little muscle movement as we can. Now, for the rest of your fingers, your ring finger really should be the one holding it from the other side. So you have your thumb underneath holding it from one side, and your ring finger should be the other side. If you prefer your front finger, that's fine. This needs to be comfortable for you. However, if things aren't right, we need to make a change. So if things are comfortable and you're trying to make a change, I have a feeling that the two really aren't going to go together. I'm not saying it should be uncomfortable, but it may feel awkward to begin with. It will become comfortable the first time you do everything. It's really not comfortable. Watch a baby walk. It doesn't look like they're real comfortable doing it. But watch an adult walk. They seem pretty comfortable, right? So we become a little bit more accustomed to it. We make it ours. This should be yours too, your grip. So in our backstroke, I hold with these two fingers, the ring primarily, and my thumb. And then you're going to release. You can see my pinky start to release and come out from under it, right? So as I push forward. If you're using your front fingers, you'll probably have more of a release. And that's fine. They're always going to be touching the cue. They're simply sliding out around the cue, still keeping a little bit of tension, just a little bit of tension, just dragging along it, and then coming back into place. So as we pull back, there's going to be a slight release of your fingers, and as we push forward, that will grip again. And then we say grip when it strikes the ball. So we have there's a force being applied to something. If we think about physics, and for every action there's an equal and opposite reaction. So as you strike something, there's a force pushing back against that strike. So as that tip strikes the ball, our hand will, I hesitate to say clench, but it will tighten its grip some. And not hard. Again, you're not using a ton of muscle for this, but it will grab onto that stick to force through that rebounding reaction of the force being applied to the cue. So we're going to pull back, and as we get to that striking point, we're going to pull that cue in. We're going to hold on to that cue a little bit more and push through. And that's what finishing the stroke means, is that you're going to finish through the ball and you're going to force through that rebounding action that the cue will give. So again, just to review, a good grip, you're going to put your cue into the webbing part between your thumb and finger there. And you decide where your fingers are going to, what's the other end of that, whether it be your ring finger, your middle finger, or your first finger, your index finger. And then when you pull back, don't hold the cue, because then you actually create two hinges. If you can see this, by me holding the cue completely, you can see the hinge, of course, my elbow, but look at my wrist. It's making movements as well. We want to minimize as many movements as we can. Removing variables increases consistency, right? So I'm going to pull back, and you can see my wrist really didn't move. And then as I hit that, it will tighten up and angle. But to release those fingers allows the wrist and hand to remain straight. Again, how hard? It can be described in a multitude of different ways. Holding an egg just to ensure that it doesn't drop, but not so tight that you're going to crush the egg, right? The lighter the grip, the better it will be. Even if you hit that ball and the grip and the stick almost starts to slide out, that's actually a good thing. Because when you slide, the stick will slide straight. There's no movement, there's no pressure on that. Pressure's already been applied and it's sliding out of your hands. Please don't throw your brand new icon across the room. That will look silly at the US Open. So keep some tension on it, but don't over grip. Again, muscle movements, if you think about just watching, it's minor, but if my tip is here and I just clench my hand, it may not appear real well in the video, but my tip drops down and the back end comes up. That, along with some other things, could cause those scooping actions, right? So if I just tense up just before I'm about to hit and that tip drops down under the ball, you can scoop the ball. You'll drop your elbow because you're tensing up. All that stuff will happen. That covers grip. So now we have a good stroke. Set, pause, finish, pendulum stroke. A light grip. Work on that. And where how your fingers will roll out and come back in, and when to put a little bit more grip, a little bit of tension, but not over tightening when you strike the ball. Right at the moment that you're striking the ball is where that's your target. So now we'll talk about practicing. Your practice is something we can't practice, or you may not have developed the understanding of how to practice. One of the biggest parts of the game is the psychological aspect. We go out in league or we get into a higher level tournament and we're running deep, and I'm down on the 8-ball, 9-ball, whatever, in a hill match, right? Those nerves have me. How do I bring that into the practice room when there's no consequence? What's the worst case scenario when I miss that ball in practice? I line it up and I set it up again and I shoot it, right? Give yourself consequences. So you'll hear punishment or penalty drills. Think about a drill that you may not be all that fond of. Something that doesn't take a long period of time to accomplish, but something you realize like, that's a nuisance. I really don't like this drill, but shit, it kind of helps me too. So when you set up your practice, whatever drill you're gonna do, it doesn't really matter. Set goals for yourself, and those goals should be SMART goals. If you haven't heard that term yet, SMART goals are specific, they're measurable, they're achievable, they are realistic, and they're time driven. And based off of those goals, if you achieve your goals, no penalty. If you don't achieve your goals, penalty. So one goal might be for me to set up a drill, and maybe it's the wagon wheel drill. And I will set that up and I will hit every ball. I'll do the advanced wagon wheel. So I will hit every ball on my first try. Is that specific? Yeah. I have one shot to hit all of these. Is that measurable? Yeah. If I don't, I know it. Is it obtainable? Yeah, with enough practice, it really is. Is it realistic? Yeah, I think I can do this. Is it time driven? Yeah, I'm doing it just for this one set, so I've hit the SMART checklist. What if I don't do it? Well, shoot, this one's pretty easy. I'd say for 5 balls, for every one I don't hit, I get a penalty drill. And that penalty drill could be a kiss back. And I'll show you what a kiss back is, and I might have to do a successful one of those. So going into the 7, let's start with come into the 5. And again, with practice, you should not just be practicing shooting a ball. You should not just be stroking. You should be doing everything. You should be running your routines every way you would at league. There's one down. 2. So far I haven't missed. Going for the 10. I missed. So there's a penalty. And I missed at least one more of these. So now what I'll practice is my kiss back drill. I need to have 2 successful kiss backs. So this kiss back I'm putting on the long rail, on the short rail, diamond, middle diamond, and what I need to do is hit this in an effort to bring the cue ball as straight back as possible. I am allowing myself to come within these 2 pockets. So as long as the cue ball is going to come back in a line that is within these, that is a successful kiss back. There's a fail. I need to get 2 successful ones of these. That puts the pressure on me when I'm shooting my other drill. It gives consequence. If there is undesirable consequences, we tend to put a little bit more pressure on ourselves. There's a fail, so I keep working on that. And that drill, my penalties, they might take longer than the drill actually took to shoot out. So try to put the pressure on yourself. Try to think of ways that will encourage you to put your best foot forward, to put a little bit of pressure on. Maybe it's even, hey, if I don't do this, I gotta go clean the kitchen. But if I'm successful, I get to watch the movie. Doesn't have to be, pool related. Obviously pool related. Even that kiss back drill, the more I do it, the better stroke I will have. To review, practicing with purpose. We need to set up drills that are meaningful, that will obviously add value, and that's just about every drill. We need to give consequences for our failure to complete the drill. Our measure should be all that SMART: specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, and time-driven. Practice more than just stroking the ball. Practice your routines. Practice looking at the aiming line, the potting line, your stance, chalking, all your routines that you're going to do out at league, out in tournaments. Those should be part of your practice here as well, so that it becomes more of a muscle memory, more of a psychological memory as well. Like I remember, and once we remember all those things that we talked earlier about, there's so many things to remember. Now, we don't think about all the things that go into walking, but we accomplish that. Most of us accomplish that very well. And it's because we've done it so many times that we don't need to think about it. Our body knows what to do. Our mind can just put it in the subconscious about what to do. So I hope this was successful. I hope your new equipment does well. I hope you crush it at the US Open. And if you do, recommend this video. All right. Thanks all. Have a good day.